Okay, I think it's fine to get started now. So again, I just wanted to reiterate that this event is going to be recorded. So if you want to turn your camera on, you're more than welcome to. But if not, you're welcome to keep it off. But welcome to the SGA and UPB Student Life Series. My name is Philip. I'm the president of the Student Government Association. I'm very glad to see everyone today and be with you all. Before we get started, I was hoping we could do some introductions on our end, just to tell you a little bit about us, who we are, and then we'll dive into the presentation. So Aaron and Christian, would you like to introduce yourselves, and then Emily and Brad?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Philip. So my name is Erin Mason. I am going to be a senior here at Chapman, and I am the vice president for Student Government Association.
Hi, I'm Christian Grevin. I'm a junior, and I am the director of elections for SGA.
Hi everyone, I'm Emily Chiswick. I'm going to be a senior and I am the chair for the 2020-2021 school year for the University Program Board.
And hi everyone, my name is Bradley Brooks and I am the Special Events and Traditions Coordinator for the University Program Board, and I'm going to be a junior.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone. Again, we are so glad to be with you all today. I hope you're all doing well, staying healthy, and enjoying the summer. So yeah, if Aaron, you could go to the first slide here. This is just an overview of what today's event is going to look like. We're going to talk about both SGA and UPB and then answer any questions you may have. So we're going to start off with SGA and just give a little bit of our background and purpose and just opportunities within our organization. And then we're going to hand it over to Emily and Brad, where they're going to talk about UPB and similar background functions and ways to get involved. And then we'll do a Q&A session at the end and answer any questions you may have. So without further ado, I think we'll get started. So SGA stands for the Student Government Association, and we are the official undergraduate student government at Chapman University. And essentially, whenever someone asks what SGA actually is, I like to give the metaphor of the bridge. We are the bridge between the student body and the university administration. So we really try to fill that gap and just try to improve every aspect of the college and Chapman experience. That comes in many forms, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that actually looks like. As we differ a little bit from the traditional high school student government, we're kind of, between SGA and UPB, we cover different aspects of what that looked like in high school at the college level. But again, members of SGA are elected by the student body, so it's an official elected governing body at Chapman, and yeah, we serve as elected officials for the student body, and that's a general synopsis of what SGA is. So now more about what SGA actually does. I listed some of our primary roles and responsibilities. Again, this list is not all-encompassing, but it covers a general list of what we do. One of them being meeting with students and our different constituencies to hear questions, hear concerns, listen to their ideas, and try to find what people are concerned about or what people have ideas for with the university. And then once we have that knowledge, then we take that to the administration and we work with administrators, faculty, staff, and anyone who, I see we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but that is totally fine. A little sneak peek into Christian slides. But we work with everyone in the Chapman community to really improve different aspects of the university. And that looks different depending on the position and the constituency, but we do a lot of collaboration. And then serving on various internal and external committees. I know Erin will touch on that a little bit in her portion of the presentation, but that's just kind of, again, elevating that student voice in the university decisions. And then this is a big one. SGA is responsible for providing funding for different students, student organizations, and departments on campus. And students come to us for requests for various things, usually conferences and travel funding for different educational opportunities. But right now that's looking a little different. So it's more focused on virtual conferences and different items and whatnot, like t-shirts for the club. But that's a major component of what we do. And then aside from that, attending campus events and functions on behalf of the student body. We are really a representative group of what SGA is. And I just see Juliet commented in the chat. I completely forgot to introduce Juliet. She is with the Office of Admission, and she's going to be helping to facilitate this event and specifically the chat box. So welcome to Juliet. And yeah, that's kind of a general list of what we do. But again, that's not everything. There's more. And then some examples of what we've done on campus. So this is within the past years, not just recently, but we've actually been able to do a quite bit of a few things in the past couple of years. One of them being more recently the addition of the Henley Fitness Center. This event was really spearheaded by SGA in the past 2 years, and it came to fruition earlier this past year when we completed the Henley Fitness Center, and that was a big endeavor. It's a new fitness center on campus. It's state of the art and just a wonderful, wonderful facility. So that was a great addition. We also offer through our budget a New York Times subscription for every student at Chapman. So be sure to use that among other resources we provide. Campus charging stations, we spearheaded that as well. So you'll see those throughout campus when we eventually return. The Laptops to Go program, we're in the process of actually expanding that during the time of COVID, but that's a big endeavor that we took on to get that program up and running. Smoke-free campus policy, SGA played a big role in that many years back, but that's a policy that still exists today. The extension of the fall break, which is our Thanksgiving break. Traditionally, it used to be 3 days, now it's 5, so that full week. Water refilling stations throughout campus and the dorm areas. And then free menstrual products on campus, that was more recent, but that was a big move. And then, again, that list goes on. It's not all encompassing, but those are some of the highlights of what we've been able to do in SGA. And right now, I know we're all living in unusual times, but I like to tell people that we're focused on 3 primary areas as far as our governing and our advocacy. And that's helping students through COVID and all the challenges that this pandemic has created, uplifting our Black student union and our Black community on campus, and also ensuring that we have a safe and productive and effective return during the fall semester, whatever that looks like. So I know I just talked a lot, and Erin's going to go into more in depth about what SGA looks like and what individual positions do within our organization. So Erin?
Awesome, thank you, Philip. So yes, I'll be speaking more about the structure of SGA. So SGA is structurally comprised of the executive branch, the legislative branch, which we also refer to as Senate, and the judicial branch. So it looks very closely like our national government. So for the executive branch, we'll have the president, the vice president, and 3 directors: the director of finance, public relations, and director of elections. In the legislative branch, which we have 17 total senators. There's 1 for each college. So if you're part of like School of Argyros or whatever your major is, you have a senator that represents your college. There will be an upperclassman senator who represents the juniors and seniors, and a lowerclassman senator who represents the first-year students and the sophomores. And then we have 5 student org senators. So at Chapman, we do have clubs, and the student organizations are split up into pretty much 5 different categories, and each category has a senator that represents them. We also have the judicial branch, which is a little bit more external from SGA, and that has the Director of Justice and the SGA Review Board. So they're in charge of reviewing our documents and making sure that we are adhering to what the operating documents say and are going along the process the way that it's supposed to be. And then we also have some internal committees that each senator can sit on. So there are 4 external committees: the University and Academic Affairs Committee, the Community Outreach Committee, Diversity Affairs, and Allocations. And each one has a specific area of SGA that they focus on. And with that, senators have the opportunity to apply for another internal position. So the senators have the opportunity to run for Speaker of Senate or to become a committee chair. And now I'm going to turn it over to Christian, and you'll be telling us a little bit more about the elections process.
Hi, okay, so a major way to get involved in SGA is by becoming one of our 17 senators. This fall, we have 5 senator positions open. The first one being lowerclassman senator, and this senator represents all lowerclassmen. In order to hold this seat, you have to have completed less than 60 credits. The next one is the civic engagement student organization senator. This senator represents all civic engagement organizations on campus, and it is open to any undergraduate student. Then we have the diversity student organization senator, and this senator represents all diversity, cultural, spiritual, and religious organizations on campus. This seat is also open to any undergraduate student. And then we have the leisure student organization senator, and this senator represents all leisure, special interest, performance and arts, recreational, fitness, and wellness organizations on campus. And the seat is also open to any undergraduate student. And then finally, we have the Fowler School of Engineering Senator. Normally in the fall, we just have the 4 positions open, but since this fall, the Fowler School of Engineering is being open for the first time ever, we're adding a senator seat for the college and we'll be filling it this fall. And in order to hold this position, you have to have a major within the School of Fowler Engineering. But yeah, and they'll represent their school within SGA. Okay, next slide. So if you are interested in being a senator, it is important to know the election calendar for this upcoming year, because that's how you'll know. It's important to know the different dates within it. So I'm just going to highlight a few key dates and events that I think are important to know. The first one being the filing period, which occurs between Monday, August 24th and Friday, September 4th. The filing period is the time when you must turn in your candidate packet in order to be allowed to run for a Senate position. And a major part of the candidate packet is the requirement to receive a certain amount of signatures, which varies from senator position. It can be anywhere between 30 and 50, but you need to receive them from your constituency. And then after the filing period, we have the campaign week, which takes place from Monday, September 7th up until the end of the election period. And it's the time for candidates to connect with the student body and spread their message and agenda in order to garner support while they're running. Then we have the election period, which takes place between Monday, September 14th and Wednesday, September 16th. This is the key time to push for your constituency to get out and vote. And then while these three events are really important, there are more, as you can see on the right side of the screen. But those more information around those are important if you choose to run, and more information will come out as we approach those times. And then also you can access this calendar on our Instagram under the permanent story labeled dates. It will also be on our website soon, which you can find by going to Chapman's website and typing in SGA into the search bar. And then if you have any questions about these events or what you have to do by a certain time, you can email me at sgaelections@chapman.edu. And then being a senator isn't the only way to get involved in SGA. There are other ways that you can do so if being a senator doesn't interest you at all. One way is through our committees. You can apply for different committees within SGA. One of them is the election committee, which works on running and advertising the SGA elections held throughout the year. This is the one I'm in charge of. We also have the review board, which was talked about earlier. The review board is a part of the judicial branch and basically works on interpreting our founding documents. Both of these committees will be formed in the upcoming weeks. If you're interested in them, our Instagram account will announce whenever the applications are open, so make sure to keep an eye out for that. And then another way to get involved is through our assistant positions. We have the public relations assistant and finance assistant. So the PR assistant obviously works with the director of PR, and the finance assistant works with the director of finance. And then both of these positions will be filled in the coming weeks and are open for all undergraduates to apply for. That pretty much sums up the different ways you can get involved in SGA. And again, if you have any questions at all about different ways you can get involved or anything I talked about, please email me at sgaelections@chapman.edu.
Okay, hi everybody. Just to reiterate, I want to thank SGA. Their presentation was great, and I want to thank you all for being here. It's really exciting to see, or at least know, that there are a bunch of people here that want to be involved on campus. Just to reiterate, I'm Emily Chiswick. I am the University Program Board Chair for the upcoming school year. And so I'm here to talk to you a little bit about what we do as the University Program Board. And then, yeah, we'll take questions after this. So what is the University Program Board? So the University Program Board, we are responsible for all student events on campus and off campus that are funded by student activity fees. So that's included in your tuition, and we take that money and we make student-funded, student-run, and student-focused events that are really fun, really engaging, and help to kind of de-stress with the academic rigor of Chapman University. So I just want to go, oh, never mind. Bradley's up.
Hi, everyone. So I'm just going to quickly go over our UPB mission. This is our kind of general thought process when we look into planning events and how we're going to help the university. So the University Program Board strives to enhance the overall experience at Chapman University by actively engaging students with entertaining and community-oriented programs throughout the academic year. The board provides opportunities for participation in the implementation of its programs in order to integrate the varied needs of the Chapman community. So that's obviously a big mouthful, but we really strive to make sure that Chapman feels like a community for all of its students. And we make sure that throughout all of our events, we're bringing in different people from all different walks of life to make sure that we're always gaining new perspectives and there's always purposeful intent behind all of our events.
Yeah, so kind of going off that, we just wanted to run over really quickly what UPB values. This is going to be especially important as they are our guiding principles, and especially in this weird, uncertain time, we want to make sure that you guys all know what is at the core of what we're doing. So obviously, we use student funds, so we are student-driven, student-focused. Everything we do is to better enhance the Chapman experience for the students that attend our events. We want to foster a sense of community, so all of our events, I'll get to it, but are very inclusive, very welcoming. It's a good space to build community with others and to share common interests and do things that kind of take your mind away from stresses and allow you to have more of that college experience. Everything we do with integrity. We don't take lightly that we utilize student funds. So we plan our events with the utmost integrity, and we make sure that everything we do is for the benefit of the students. Like I said, inclusivity is a huge pillar of what we do. All of our events are for everybody. There's no barrier to entry. We want to make sure that everybody feels welcome and safe in the spaces that we provide. We strive for excellence. So all of the events that we don't do halfway, we do 110%. And we want to make sure that that is clear in all of the things that we present. And then obviously we want to create impact. We want memories at Chapman to last hopefully a lifetime. And we want to make sure that everything we're doing is impacting you in a positive way and providing memories and experiences that will last beyond the 4 years or maybe more that you spend at Chapman University.
So what does UPB do? So we plan engaging and entertaining weekday and weekend events for students. So we can have an event any day of the week. On average, we tend to host 2 events per week, usually one at the beginning of the week and then one on a Thursday or Friday night. And these events have such a big range. We go from midnight breakfast and fall concert, which are some of Chapman's biggest traditions, and they bring in over 1,000 students each. And we have a lot of smaller events too, such as trivia nights in the circle that's really close to Chapman, or we do adopt a succulent that's in the middle of the day. Like, we really make sure that there are events for everyone and that people are always able to come to them. And then UPB structure. So we have our advisor, but because we are student driven, our advisor is there to oversee us, but we ultimately make the decisions. And then we have the chair, which is Emily, and she oversees all of the committee directors. And then within our committee directors, we have special events and traditions, which is me. And then we have daytime entertainment, late night entertainment, off-campus trips, and marketing. So all of our events fall into one of these specific categories. And then within each committee director, we have committee members. And that's where a lot of the student body comes into play. And we can actually plan events with students and make sure that we're hearing ideas. So we actually will have our committee member applications open soon, and Emily will touch on that in a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Bradley. So obviously the elephant in the room is that we're dealing with a global pandemic, and you might be wondering, how are you going to plan on-campus events if there's no campus? So I just wanted to come on and assure you guys that we are creating engaging events. We're still committed to providing fun and engaging events for the student population, even with remote operations. Our team, we have an amazing team of directors that are working creatively to find ways to be consistent in adapting to whatever comes at us and then delivering entertainment in the wake of all these uncertain challenges. So rest assured, we'll still be utilizing your student activity fees in the most fun and exciting way that we are able to, but we are not ignorant to the fact that things are going to look really different this year than usual, but the fun and the engagement is not going to suffer. That is something that we can guarantee.
So we actually wanted to touch on a few previous event examples just so we can kind of show what UPB does as a whole and how varied our events actually are. So the two posters on the right, you can see we have Disneyland, which happens every single year, and we sell very inexpensive Disneyland tickets to the park. Obviously, that most likely will not be happening this year, possibly second semester, but you never know. And then we also have Drag Show, which is one of my favorite events at Chapman. It's one of the students' favorite events. This is where we have drag queens come in, and it's a really great space for LGBT youth or anyone that feels the need to come. So we also have Midnight Breakfast. Friendsgiving is a super fun thing that we do each year where we watch episodes of Friends and we have a mashed potato bar. Everyone loves a good mashed potato bar. But we also have a lot smaller events such as movie nights, movie screenings of new films coming out, Adopt a Succulent, where people can come and plant a cute little succulent on their way to class. It's super stress-free. It's just a really good way to engage with our student body a little more.
So obviously some of these events have a huge asterisk next to them because we are limited in what we can do on campus as of right now, but I wanted to kind of shed some light and get you guys excited about what we're doing. These are some upcoming events that our team is working pretty hard on to try to make happen. Obviously everything has a big asterisk next to it, but these are things that our team is working on, and obviously more details will follow. So we're thinking about, instead of having an orientation dance, doing an orientation live stream. We're really thinking of fun, creative ways to make that engaging for you guys. I think that got cut off, but that would be Friday, August 27th from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. That is the tentative date and time. Of course, all of the details, when they're solidified, will be sent out to you guys. And we have some really fun surprises up our sleeve for making that orientation feel a little more like the orientation dance. One of our traditions that we do during Welcome Week is yoga on the lawn, but again, we're not sure if we're going to be able to do it on the lawn, so we might be doing a virtual yoga class, something like a Zoom and Zen kind of thing. So that'll probably take place Saturday, August 28th, and I believe it'll be from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's, of course, tentative, but like I said, we'll send out all the information when we have it. And then, of course, pending CDC regulation adherence and obviously administrative approval, we were thinking about doing a downtown Disney event for those who are coming to Orange and want to just explore the area a little bit more. We do a lot of events with the Circle and getting people discounts and walking around and really trying to make Orange feel like their home away from home. So these are just some of the upcoming events that we're working on and trying to make work in the current climate, but we promise to deliver all these events and more super fun ones. So if any of this interests you at all, we love engaging the community as much as possible. So right now we are going to be looking for committee members. So if you remember, that would be under the directors in their various committees. So we haven't opened applications yet, but we would like you guys, if you are interested, to fill out the UPB interest form. And then, of course, with that contact information, we will let you know when the committee member application is live, and then from there you can apply. This is the link if you want to take a picture, if you want to write it down, or I can try to get it to you. Just let me know. But if there are any questions, anything at all, you can email my personal email, chiswick@chapman.edu, or DM our Instagram. We always have someone on there answering questions, and feel free to follow it while you're there too. We have some really fun, exciting stuff that our marketing team is working on. UPB is a fantastic organization. Bradley and I have each worked on it for 3 years, and each year we've fallen more and more in love with it. You can see that's a picture of our team last year at our midnight breakfast. It really fosters a fun sense of community and belonging on campus, and we'd love to have you guys be a part of it. So thank you so much for listening. And again, if there are any questions, please never hesitate to reach out.
Thanks, Emily. And yeah, I think everyone in SGA can attest that UPB is a great organization. So before we move on to the Q&A, I just wanted to provide some clarity between the two organizations. Just, I'm sure you've already realized this, but when you look at kind of the type of organizations that we are, SGA is more policy and advocacy oriented, whereas UPB is more programming, events, and kind of the I don't want to say fun stuff because I think the policy side of things is fun, but more the event side of things. So that's kind of how you can differentiate our two organizations. But yeah, now we want to take this time to answer any questions you may have. Emily and I are going to moderate, and we will delegate any questions to the appropriate person with us today. But if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box to type those in, and we'll get those answered. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask now. Okay, I see Juliet is starting us off. So Juliet asked, how did each of you decide to get involved in these organizations? And did you know that you were going to join before you started at Chapman? Emily and Brad, do you want to start with those?
Sure, I'll go ahead and start. So I actually have a weird story with UPB. I was actually a transfer student my sophomore year, and I wasn't really sure. I wasn't aiming to be super involved. I didn't go to any orientation events or anything. So I was apprehensive, but I knew that I wanted to try to be a leader on campus and really work my way kind of into the leadership side of things. So I applied as a committee member back my sophomore year for the marketing committee, and I fell in love. I loved getting to see the satisfaction on students' faces when, you know, events would happen and people getting excited about things that we were working on. And it was just a really cool thing to see. So then last year, my junior year, I actually served as the events and promotions coordinator. So I handle all the tablings in the piazza and things like that. And it's just a fun way to see everybody get involved. And then of course this year I'm serving as the chair, and I could not be more excited. So I would just encourage, if anybody even has the slightest interest, to really apply for the committee member positions, because you just never know. You never know where it's going to lead you. And I've made the best friends. I've had the best experiences. So I've fallen in love with UPB, and I really hope you guys do too. That's my story.
And as far as me with UPB, I was in ASB in high school, which I do feel is a little bit similar to UPB in that sense. So when I came into Chapman my freshman year, I knew I wanted to join an event planning type thing. So I joined as a committee member my freshman year as well. And then my sophomore year, I actually was the late night entertainment director. So I got to plan drag show, the orientation dance. It was super exciting and very fulfilling. And then this year I get to be the special events and traditions director.
Aaron or Christian, do you want to take on that question just for an SGA side of things?
Yeah, I can touch on it. So when I came to Chapman, I didn't know that I was going to be involved in student government, but I had been involved in student government in high school, and I was interested. So I was that student that went to every table, because on campus during orientation, they'll have all of the clubs and organizations will have a table and a booth that you can go to and ask questions. And I was that person to go to everything to see what it was going to be like. So I wanted to be very involved in college. And then I came across the student government table, loved what they had to say, and decided to run. And I was a senator for 2 years. And then this year I decided to run for vice president. And I'm very excited to have this opportunity.
For me, it was very different from Aaron. Like, I came in not necessarily interested in student government, but what had happened is I had seen a lot of my friends join it over the past 2 years, and like seen all the amazing work that they had done and the difference that they had made in the Chapman community. And I had realized that that was something that I wanted to be a part. So this past year I applied for director of elections, and so I'm really excited to be a part of it now for the first time. Yeah, this is my first time in SGA.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll provide a quick answer because I know we spent a lot of time on this question, but I didn't get involved my freshman year, and that's one of my biggest regrets as far as the SGA side of things. I waited to get involved with SGA until my sophomore year, and then I ran for position there and then got super involved within the organization. And I just, as a plug, I would recommend, if you have any interest, just go for it. That's especially during this time when it might seem like we're all disconnected virtually. Being a part of one of these organizations or just getting to interact with people within them, it's such a amazing way to just enhance your college experience. So I would totally recommend it. And then, yeah, I hope that answers that question. And then I saw that, Emily, you were able to put the UPB chat or the link in the chat. So that's awesome. And The next question from Rachel is about how common is it for a freshman to serve as the underclassman senator? So I'll throw that question to Christian, who's our director of elections.
It's very common for freshmen to serve as underclassman senator. The main reason that we leave these positions open in the fall is so that we can have incoming freshmen and transfer students be a part of SGA and run for these positions. So yeah, it's definitely very common. So if you're interested, I highly recommend running for it.
Yeah, so if there are no other answers, I was just going to ask the next question if everybody's ready for that. Okay, so one of the questions that I think would be helpful for both of us to answer is how much of a time commitment SGA and UPB is, and if you could balance that with other on-campus activities. So I'll start off and then I'll have Bradley kind of supplement, and then SGA, whoever, feel free to jump in and comment on the time commitment for SGA. But as for UPB, obviously right now we're only hiring committee members. So committee members, they basically, when you work as a committee member, it takes up as much time as you want it to take up. However, there is a commitment. It's not massive, but we have a point system in place to ensure that people are actually being involved. But I would say that as a full-time student, when I was a committee member my sophomore year, I didn't find any conflicts. Most of the events take place between classes or after class or on weekends. And so if you have a conflict, all of the directors are super understanding and want to make sure that you're involved to the best of your ability. So I don't know if Bradley wants to touch any more on that, but that was my experience. I felt like I was able to handle it. Obviously, you are your own manager, so whatever you feel is good, but I don't think it's not going to be a huge time conflict.
Yeah, just to quickly touch on what Emily said, when I was a committee member as well, I felt like it was very much a creative outlet. It was never a hassle in any way. I felt like it helped me get more involved in the school and never felt like I was spreading myself too thin in any situation.
So yeah, would anybody on SGA like to comment on the time commitment?
Yeah, I could touch on that really quick. Aaron, actually, do you want to go for that?
Yeah, I was just going to briefly say that for SGA, it all depends. So if you're a senator, the time commitment would be we have mandatory Senate meetings every Friday from 1 to 3, so that's 2 hours. And then you'd also have to serve an office hour, which is an additional hour. That's about 3 hours that you can expect. But if you decide to hold another position, like if you're Speaker of Senate or you're committee chair, your office hours will increase. And then if you're on the exec board, the directors and then Philip and myself also have a higher office hour requirement. So it all depends on what position you do have.
Yeah, and just to go off that, I think it depends on the individual, the position, and just the current situation. So obviously, like Aaron said, it depends on what position you hold. There's different logistical requirements, but then also how much you're kind of wanting to do in that position, because you can technically be in a position and kind of do the bare minimum, or you can go the extra mile. So it depends on who you are and what the current situation is. But yeah, like Aaron said, the executive council has different requirements. I have 10 hours per week per office hour, and Aaron has 8. So it varies, but I think it's definitely doable to do SGA or UPB and then something else too. It just depends on how you manage your time and what workload you want to take on.
Yeah, and sorry, I'm just going to pop in really quick because I forgot to mention something, but you will have weekly meetings with your committee director. Those are very flexible, but you will have a committee meeting with your director. And then we'll also come together as UPB once a month and kind of get a general overview of what we're working on in each of our committees. So those are really the only like set obligations. So I just forgot to mention that. That was something that I just wanted to throw in there.
Thanks, Emily. And yeah, I saw that Sam asked about the list of available positions, and I saw that Juliet put that list. So thank you for doing that. But then the second question about how campaigning will work under quarantine. Christian, I'll let you take that one on because that's right up in your responsibilities and whatnot.
Yeah, so it's definitely going to be social media heavy. So like this past semester, the second election in spring was also in the middle of when quarantining first hit. And so a lot of the people running for different seats, they created Instagram accounts or Facebook profiles, and they posted a lot of their agendas and like what they wanted to communicate to their constituencies through that. So they did a lot of posting on that, and then a lot of engaging through social media. So that will definitely be the main focus through campaigning. Like that's how campaigning will work during COVID times. That's the main thing I'd say. And things are still being like worked out as we approach. So there'll definitely be more to talk about, but like kinks are being worked out. Yeah. Sorry, I hope that answered your question.
And then I also, sorry, one thing about asked about being a student athlete at the same time, as far as SGA and UPB, I think that one is more specific to what you're doing. I would be aware of the logistical requirements for both organizations. So like Aaron said, for SGA, we have those meetings on Friday afternoons from 1 to 3. We have the office hours that are required per week and additional meetings and trainings and whatnot. So being aware of those time commitments, that it's just, you can't miss them logistically. But aside from that, we've had student athletes in our organization, and I think in UPB as well. So definitely doable.
So I'm kind of also getting a couple questions about UPB that I just want to quickly address. Committee member positions for UPB are open in the spring and in the fall. We do both semesters. Will they be open to first-year students? Yes, of course. Committee member positions are open to anybody. And then obviously, like, it depends on your interest. So if you're more interested in marketing or late night or whatever, that's how we will decide which position we think you're the best fit for. And how many positions are there? It depends on who's returning and things like that, logistical things like that. But usually we don't have a large limit. So if you apply, there's a great chance of you ending up on at least one of the committees. I don't know if Bradley has anything to touch on, but those are just a couple things that I was seeing. I'm seeing someone say, is it worth it to start early within freshman year? 100%. Actually 10,000%. The sooner you can get off running, I would highly recommend it if you will have that motivation or that desire. That's not UPB specific. That's just my personal recommendation. If there are any UPB specific questions that Bradley wants to touch on, I'm going to hand it over to him, but those are just a couple things I was seeing in the chat.
I just wanted to touch on the freshman year question. I think it's so important to get involved early. For UPB specifically, I made some of my closest friends within UPB, and I found it as a really cool outlet where I felt like I was actually involving myself in the Chapman community, and it was pushing me to do things out of my comfort zone a little bit, and that was really cool. As far as UPB committee member positions, Emily really did a good job on touching on that. We don't exactly know how many people are returning, so we can't give a perfect number as to how many positions we'll be accepting, but we'll definitely know those numbers as we get closer to when the application comes out.
And then as for Ava's question about which UPB position an applicant gets, we're still tweaking the application at the moment, but from what I remember when I was applying, I believe you apply and answer a certain set of questions, and then we'll decide which committee we feel would, benefit from that. I think we have interest fields. Bradley, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have interest fields where people can say, I would prefer this committee or whatnot. But go ahead.
Yeah, so for our application, what we've done in the past, we might change it a bit this year, but we do your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice, and then you answer questions regarding different types of events and stuff like that. So we really try and put people in their first or second choices. It's not too often where people end up in their third choice, but yeah, so that's how we do it.
Yeah, thank you, Bradley. I appreciate that.
And I see that Stephanie asked a good question about, I'll just read their question. If we choose to live on campus in the fall, do you know if there will be in-person meetings for both SGA and UPB, or will it all be virtual? So I can touch on SGA really quick, and then I'll let UPB. And I'll have to preface the answer with, it's a lot of TBD right now. I think everyone is just awaiting some confirmation as to what the fall is going to look like. And I guess I'll say that if you're living in campus housing, that's different as if we're actually doing a hybrid model education. So if we're in-person instruction, then I think it's likely that SGA will be having certain meetings and whatnot in person. But if we're just in housing, but everything's online, I suspect it'll be all online. And even if you're not technically here right now, since it's such an uncertain time, everything is going to be able to be in a hybrid format. So if you're online only, it's going to be okay if you're running for SGA or being a part of SGA, and vice versa. If you're in person, you'll be able to do certain things in person or do everything online. So a lot of TBD. We'll be releasing more detailed plans shortly, but whether you're in person, whether you're online, you'll be able to be a part of SGA.
Get breath. Hear any updates from everything that we know. We will make sure you guys know as soon as possible. What this chair is. Am I good? Am I freezing?
Emily, you are coming out a little bit.
I focus as okay. Wait a minute. Okay.
Can you toss it to Brad? I think we can hear you.
Okay, I think I might be back. Okay, cool. Sorry, guys. Okay, so what I was saying is we're waiting for updates from administration, but I think one of my focuses as chair is just to ensure that every member of UPB, so even if we do hold a on-campus meeting, you're sure that's accessible online. Comfort is obviously the most important thing, and these are really uncertain times, and everybody has a different relationship with the pandemic. So we just want to make sure that there's comfort, but likely it will be accessible no matter what your situation is. My apologies again for cutting out.
And then I see another SGA question. Emily, did you cover everything you wanted to cover?
Yeah, I have one more question that I want to touch on after your SGA question. So
okay.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
So let me just read this one. So do the senator applications and the assistant applications run concurrently, or is there an opportunity to still get involved depending on the election outcome? Christian, I'll let you kind of touch on that one, and Aaron and I can provide any additional information pending your answer.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the assistant applications take place before senator elections, so they will be filled before the elections take place. So depending on which one, I don't know if you'd prefer to be an assistant or prefer to be a senator, but yeah, the assistant application and committee applications take place first, and then these elections for the fall take place early on in the beginning of the semester. But so no, they do not occur concurrently.
And yeah, just to piggyback off of Christian's answer, the current assistant positions, which are paid positions within SGA that are assisting two of our executive council positions, is the finance assistant and the public relations assistant. So those you have to have you do have to have kind of experience and knowledge in those specific fields. So those are unique. And then we have the committee, like Christian said, with the elections committee and the judicial review committee. So those would also, I think those are going to be coming up, those applications, and then the elections for senators. So technically the running for Senate comes at the latter half of the process. So you could you couldn't do both by performing both jobs, but you could technically try out the assistant or apply for the assistant position, but you couldn't actually do both, but you could kind of test both out. Emily, you can go forward with the UPB question.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So someone asked, what are the benefits of joining UPB in our opinion? This is obviously personal for everybody, but for me personally, I have always had an interest in event planning and things like that. And so when I would see events happen on campus, I would always wonder, who's doing this? What's going on behind the scenes? I've always just had an interest in that. And so really what I would say one of the biggest benefits is just you kind of get to see behind the action. If you want to do a little bit more than just attending events, I think that it's a really cool way to learn how things are managed. Obviously, we are student run, and so we operate with student funds. So another really interesting thing is if you end up becoming a director, you get to manage student funds and you have a budget, and it's a really cool way to learn how to do things kind of more hands-on. So that was what I would say the, director aspect is really cool. But even as a committee member, you get to do really cool things. You get to work really fun events. You get, if there's someone, you get to work backstage. There's all different ways to get involved and to apply what you do on UPB to your real life. And so that is the thing that I take away most from it, learning how to think on the fly and respond to situations. It's a really interesting perspective, and you get to do it with students. It's not like you have a big scary boss. So, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same Chapman family. So that's personally what I think the, best part about being on UPB is. It's one of the biggest benefits for me. You get to actually learn and go to some really fun and cool events. So that would be, that's what I think one of the biggest benefits is, but I'll let Bradley touch on what he views as, a benefit of being on UPB.
Thanks, Emily. Yeah, I completely agree with everything that Emily said. I also would say that the friendships you make within UPB are really amazing as well, and the work relationships as well. Going from a committee member to a director, there's many different things that can be beneficial. It's really cool being able to manage a budget that's fairly large as a student, which is really a unique job, especially if you're looking at it from a resume standpoint. It's just really cool to be able to be hands-on and know that there's no person that's really overseeing you, and you can have a lot of creative freedom in that sense. I know that when I was a director last year, there were a lot of events that committee members came up with that I made sure happened, and it's really cool to see some of those ideas come into fruition. So yeah, that's just me.
You never know which of your events will end up being traditions or long-lasting things at Chapman. It's really cool. We get to constantly reinvent the student experience. And then just something I want to make sure is clear and touched on, just in terms of compensation. So in terms of UPB, and SGA can touch on this if they feel, but committee members are unpaid. When you become a director, that is when you are paid. And then, of course, my position as chair is paid. And so that's just kind of the compensation aspect of working for UPB. So committee members unpaid, but good experiences and lots of valuable connections to be made for sure.
Yeah, and going off on that from an SGA perspective, and just to kind of give some context for why that's the case on both ends, really to make it equitable so people don't have to worry about balancing one thing over another or worry about getting a job on top of doing something like that. It creates an equal playing field for people to get involved with both organizations. And then SGA, similarly, there's a compensation for senators and executive council members and our director of justice, and that comes in the form of a fellowship. You're not paid by the hour, but rather a lump sum for the entire year you serve. So you can find more information in detail on our website under our governing documents, under our bylaws, if you really want to do some more digging about those specific numbers. But that's kind of how it works in SGA. And then I also, before I go to Juliet's question, I think that there was a question about getting involved in the spring for SGA and different committee positions that might be open. So I'm going to let Christian touch on that.
Yeah, so basically how it works is from May 1st of one year to April 30th of the following year. That is the runtime of one SGA. So the current SGA, like me, Philip, and Aaron, plus the senators we have, started on May 1st. And then this fall, we're filling in the last 5 seats, and then also the assistant positions and committees we're forming. And we'll run up until April 30th of 2021. And next spring, we'll be holding the elections for the new president and vice president first. And then the next election will be for 13 of the 17 senators. So if you're interested in getting involved next year, you can run for those different election positions. And then once the vice president and president are selected, they will hold different interviews and like a different application process for the 3 directors as well. So if that's a different avenue you want to take, you can do that as well. But basically this fall election is if you want to be a part of the current academic year SGA. And then if you want to be a part of next year's, you can be a part of that spring elections. I hope that answered it, yeah.
And then to look at Juliet's question, it reads, do any of you interact with the administration members, in your positions? If so, what kind of communication do you have with them? And what are those conversations like? Aaron, do you want to touch on that since we've been having a lot of those conversations in the past couple months?
Yes, so SGA, that is like a main part of our job, is to advocate for students and be the student voice to the administration. So a part of our job is forming those relationships with the administration and talking to them. I know that Philip and I, we meet with the Dean of Students weekly starting in the fall. We have a conversation, we update him about what SGA is doing on our end, and he fills us in on what the administration has going on and answers any potential questions you may have. And then senators also have access to that as well. So if they have an initiative that they're working on and there are certain administrators or staff members or faculty that they need to talk to or reach out to collaborate on their initiative, that is also available. So we do have a close relationship with the administration, and it's a big part of our job.
Yeah, and just to go into some more detail about that, earlier this summer, when Aaron and I, and Christian too, when we were newer to our roles, we had the opportunity to sit down with President Strupa, along with our Provost Glenn Pfeiffer, and our COO, Harold Hewitt, and we had a nice conversation about what the fall is going to look like. And of course, now that it's been 2 months since that meeting, a lot has evolved. So majority of that conversation was now irrelevant since things changed so much. But I think that is a testament to how the university sees SGA, and they really value our voices as representative of the student body and the student perspective. So I hope that can kind of be a testament of how they treat us and work with us, and how it's kind of a joint effort rather than us versus them. We're really working together, which is one of my favorite parts of being an SGA. And I know that UPB has they interact with administrators in a different way, but similarly as well. So Emily or Brad, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so actually, since we are student run, not most people in UPB don't interact with the administration. I actually serve as chair, as the link between our organization and as a voice for the students to the administration. So I make sure that all of the concerns, all of the voices from UPB are being heard, and I work really closely with the Dean of Students. So I'll also be having weekly meetings with him starting in the fall. I actually have a meeting with him next week. We're going to go over a couple logistical things. But like I said, we're fully student run. We have an advisor just to make sure that we're doing everything correctly and, administratively and legally sound. But I really serve as the bridge between the students' voices and the administration, and I make sure that I, am a part of that. I'm seeing in the chat right now that someone asked if UPB gets in the way of studying abroad. It depends on your position. So as a committee member, no, we make sure to take into account, people leave, people come, but committee member, it's not a big deal. As a director, yes, it can get in the way. They ask for a full year commitment. Under certain circumstances, that's waived, but almost 99% of the time, we ask for a full year commitment for directors. And then of course, as chair, I have to be here for the full year as well. So Bradley, do you want to touch on anything? That's kind of just something I saw and wanted to touch on.
You covered it all.
And just on an SGA side of things, that's the same for us. Essentially, every position in SGA is a year-long term, so you can't really study abroad during that time period when you run. But of course, you can always serve a year, then study abroad, and then get involved later on. So that's kind of how it is in our organization. Well, those are some good questions. Very good. Does anyone have anything else they want to ask or for us to talk about? Anything at all? Please feel free to use the chat in these last couple minutes. And if not, then we'll kind of make some closing statements and then move on. So I'm not seeing any. So on our last slide here, we do have our email addresses for our organizations. So sga@chapman.edu and then upb@chapman.edu. And I'm also going to ask if you guys are able, for Aaron, Christian, Emily, and Bradley, to put our position emails in the chat. So if anyone has individual questions, they can reach out to us. Sorry, one second. Directly. So if that's possible, please do that. But yeah, thank you all for being here today. And I hope that this presentation was insightful and that it inspired you or encouraged you to get involved with one of our organizations. There's one of my favorite things about Chapman is there's a billion things to do. even in a virtual world, there's a billion things to do. So I think you will find your place where you feel at home, and hopefully that one of those places is SGA or UPB. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, just reach out. But again, thank you for being here, and welcome to Chapman.
Yeah, welcome to Chapman, guys. Thank you so much for coming and attending. Again, don't hesitate to reach out. We really hope that we get to see you, whether that's virtually or in person, but we're so excited to have you as a part of the Chapman family, and we can't wait to welcome you with open arms. So thanks so much for listening, and we're so excited. And yeah, welcome to Chapman. We're so excited.
And we'll hang out for like 3 more minutes until 2. So if you have any questions and just want to ask us directly on Zoom, feel free to, but we'll hop off at 2. But yeah, thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.